Hi, I'm Cassandra. I am doing my presentation on animal prey defense mechanisms. We'll be looking at 3 different experiments where the prey's defense mechanisms will be in question. First, we must understand some definitions. Predator defenses. Wide range of characteristics to avoid being detected, selected, and captured. Chemical defense. Use of chemical measure induce flight reaction. Cryptic coloration. Allow prey to blend into background. Object resemblance. Prey looks like an object. It's popular in insects. Flashing coloration. Attract predators' attention away from the animal or delude them into attacking a less vulnerable part of the body. You can see this on tigers, their ears, they have spots that look like eyes, and deers have white tails, that's flashing coloration. Warning coloration, bold colors with pattern that serve as a warning, popular in snakes as well as skunk. Batesian mimicry is edible species resemble inedible species. Valerian mimicry, venomous species have a similar color pattern, popular with snakes and insects again. Protective armor, they withdraw into armored coats or shells, that's turtles and armadillos for you. Behavioral defenses, range of behaviors by prey species aimed at avoiding detection, fleeing, and warning others of presence of predation. Predator satiation is timing of reproduction, so most offspring produce in short period. That's popular with cicadas. Constitutive defenses, those are fixed features of an organism, such as object resemblance. Induced defenses are defenses that are brought about by a present or action of predators. The first experiment we're going to discuss is the feral cat experiment. This feral cat experiment was conducted on the islands, and domesticated cats have been around for about 9,000 years. Feral cats especially, they're dietary generalists. They feed on many types of native and introduced prey, including vertebrates, mammals, birds, reptiles, and invertebrates, chiefly insects. The islands where this experiment was done have a disproportionate share of global terrestrial biodiversity because they're not like the rest of the world. And the current rate of cat eradications from islands is not having a significant impact on thousands of islands where invasive cats threaten native wildlife. Experiment done to prove that feral cat extradition saves some native island species. So we're going to watch a quick video.
It's hoped an eradication program has finally wiped out a group of wild cats that's been killing seabirds in their thousands. The feral felines roam Tasman Island in Tasmania's remote southeast, and it's been 10 months since one was spotted.
They started out as pets, but in the end, about 50 feral cats were killing tens of thousands of seabirds on Tasman Island every year. They fed almost exclusively on vulnerable fairy prions and short-tailed shearwaters.
They were brought here in around the 1940s by lighthouse keepers, just kept as pets. From there they developed a feral population.
When the light was automated in the 1970s, the keepers left the island, but the cats stayed. 2 years ago, the state government began planning an eradication program, backed with funding from tourism operator Rob Pennicott.
We had photos of cats with birds in their mouths, and also when you went walking on the island, just everywhere there were dead carcasses.
Baiting, trapping and hunting began in May last year, after the birds had finished breeding and there was less for the cats to feed on. Traps were laid and wired open before the eradication began.
Cats got used to walking in and out of them. We had food in them. We'd brush cut a whole heap of tracks across the island, so cats got used to walking on the island on the lines we wanted them to walk on. So basically we're trying to get the cats to come to us, and that worked out quite well.
Motion sensing cameras and dogs were used to check for signs of the feral population.
They're basically showing us that they haven't found anything. So, and that we haven't found anything on cameras, and we haven't found anything from sign searching.
The last cat was seen less than a fortnight after the baiting began.
It's likely the eradication will be declared a success in May. Once that happens, the team will return from time to time, but the focus then will be on monitoring the thousands of seabirds that nest on the island. Selena Bryan, ABC News, Tasman Island.
That was one example of how cats are dominating over native wildlife and island species, not adapting their defense mechanisms.
I've been obsessed with belts for a long time. I wear a belt every day, and there was like
Overall, the study found at least 120 islands reporting that 175 vertebrates, 25 reptiles, 123 birds, 27 mammals have been reported being prey. A meta-analysis suggests cat impacts were greatest on endemic species, particularly mammals, and greater when non-native prey species were introduced. Feral cats on islands are responsible for at least 14% global bird, mammal, and reptile extinctions, and principal threat to 8% of critically endangered birds, mammals, and reptiles. The next experiment we are going to discuss is the hornworm larvae experiment. They have evolved multiple defenses against predators, with some showing aggressive defensive strikes and sound production. They investigated the defense mechanisms with invertebrate attacker Calomosma maxwizki. It's a beetle, able to deter predaceous invertebrates using multiple defenses, and it's the largest hornworm in Japan. It produces sounds in larval, prepupal, and adult stages. The beetle, Calosoma, is well-known caterpillar hunter. All the experiment was conducted in a lab environment, so everything was under control. They set it up to where both species may encounter each other on host plants or on the ground. They also placed them on circular bamboo so they could come into contact. Here's the circular bamboo. Sounds were also recorded when caterpillar was hung from a twig and stimulated on both sides. While being attacked, the caterpillar would thrash or tend to the area the beetle had bitten, and the sounds were audible to the human ear. The next experiment we're going to speak about is the garter snakes and toxic newt experiment. The primary weakness of the arms race analogy of coevolution between predator and prey is the paucity of direct evidence of predator evolution in response to adaptation of prey. Abrams, 1986. So this experiment was done on Vancouver Island. The snakes feed on the toxic newts. So what they did was they tested the toxicity of the newts found on Vancouver Island, and they also tested the resistance of the toxin to the snake. Different types of newts were used from different areas to test the different resistances. The resistance was found only in newts from Vancouver Island. So only the snakes and newts from Vancouver Island were able to be prey and predator. Otherwise, the snake would have been poisoned by the toxin from the other newts in the other areas. And this supports coevolution of prey defense and predator exploitation. Conclusion: most animals have defense mechanisms, some must still adapt, like we saw with the feral cat experiment. None of those animals had adapted well enough to defend off the feral cat population, so the feral cats had to be eradicated. Some species are evolving in order to survive past the larval stage, like the hornworms, by fending off beetles and making sounds. And coevolution is taking place with the toxic newts and garter snakes, and the snakes becoming more resistant to the native newts. That way they have a way to survive and reproduce. If you have any questions, here are my references. Please let me know in the comment section. Thank you.